Hey, this is Sasha, and welcome to another episode on Backstage Income, where I share with you how to build and grow a profitable business. Now, in today's episode, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the 7 types of blog content that attracts more clients. So that'll be our core and our focus in today's lesson. Now, I want to kind of start listing off some of these things for you. So the first thing is your personal stories. Your personal stories are things that, you might share with the audience that gets them to connect with you one-on-one. That gives a sense of friendship, it gives a sense of connection, and it builds that relationship a little bit further. So if you go ahead and share a personal story, something that you did, your basic routines, some people have a certain theme in terms of their stories. For example, they'll share their workout stories or their coffee stories or their traveling stories. If that's the case, it builds some kind of a relationship with the audience. It's not necessarily to say that the audience has to enjoy coffee or traveling or kids or dogs or pets. It's just that when you have a routine, a connection, they kind of get familiar and build that relationship with you. And that's really what personal stories do, is they build that connection level even further. The next thing is income reports. Now, this is sharing a little bit more personal in sense of your business. So if you're sharing things like income reports, it could be anything that's successful that you've done. That also builds a little bit more of a connection or relationship. Now, I find this a little bit more in the blogging sphere, where they're doing a lot more coaching and then they go ahead and share their income reports. This can really build a connection to where people constantly come back to visit your income reports to see how you're progressing, because they kind of want to win with you or go along with the journey, or maybe they're trying to mimic and replicate what it is that you're sharing within those income reports. So these have become very popular over the last few years, and if you're sharing income reports, it just brings a little bit deeper of a connection to your audience or future clientele. The third thing is stories about your clients. So if you're doing any kind of coaching, any kind of successful things that create winning situations for your clientele, then share those with your audience and with your customers. Because what's going to end up happening is that, hey, maybe some of the things that you're sharing on a personal level aren't necessarily resonating with your audience, but if you have a client story, maybe you could share something about that client where now they get to see and understand, hey, how did you end up helping this other person? How did it actually end up working for them? And maybe they can relate a little bit better in that case, because it might be a different business, it might be a different problem that they had, it may be something that you personally were not aware of how you could connect to your audience better, but using different types of words, different types of communication allows you to build that connection even further by sharing a little bit more about your clientele, their success, their problems, their struggles, what they had, and maybe by just doing it in that different way, we'll connect to a new group of audience. Okay, next thing would be your personal process. So if you have a process, a procedure, or a strategy that you do, maybe it's something different, maybe it's something unique, people are interested in that. They want to see, hey, what's your strategy? What is it that you're doing that's different? How is it that you're doing this and becoming successful that's a little bit different than other people? That's kind of what is interesting. Now, you don't have to reveal all your secrets or anything like that, but if you show the procedure or the step-by-step process of what you go through, people see kind of a curriculum. They see a guideline. They see that step-by-step process, just like you're putting together furniture. It could be just like, hey, how do I go to school and get this degree? There's a procedure and process. And a lot of people like those orders, the order of lists, the order of things. They like that structure. And if you can provide that structure, it makes things neat to understand and a lot easier to understand. And that allows your future customers to convert over to you much easier. The next thing is what you don't do. So if you talk about the things that you do, sometimes it's also important to mention the things that you don't actually do, because you'll have other people that maybe will test your boundaries and test your limits of saying, hey, well, maybe he also does this, maybe they also do that. And it's just as important as to tell people what you do to also tell them what you don't do. So that way you could hone in, funnel the exact customer and client that you want rather than, getting everybody. This way it allows you to eliminate the people that you don't want to deal with. For example, if you're trying to deal with people who are investing money and you're trying to collect a group of funds and then invest that money somewhere else, well, it's very difficult to deal with a client who only has $100. It's probably better that they go ahead and invest that money maybe with a robotic or computer algorithm, maybe just put their money in an ETF and let it go, set it and forget it kind of crock-pot manner. So instead, maybe if you're an investment advisor, you might only deal with people who have a wealth or net worth of over $100,000. That may make things a little bit more easy to funnel out or filter out other people that are maybe working at minimum wage. Again, because those are the people you deal with and maybe it's just not worth the time to value kind of result. So anyways, just as important, make sure you tell people what you don't do. Another thing would be to share your small wins. Just as much as you're sharing your big wins, or it could be your income reports, also go ahead and share some of the small wins. Now, the small wins don't necessarily have to be business successful wins. It could be just small wins that you've personally had in your life. It could be things of, stretching, working out. It could be health and fitness, maybe a class that you've done. Those little small wins also create a sense of personal connection, but also it shows your capabilities. It shows also things you've done and maybe some achievements as well that you've went through. Again, it could be some personal ones and it could be some business related ones to where you can balance those things out and people get a little bit of a friendship connection from you, but also show your capabilities to your audience. And finally, the last one would be a look at behind the scenes. People love to see behind the scenes. Now, I know sometimes it's not always practical, but if you can go ahead and share with people, hey, this is what it looks like when I'm filming. This is what it looks like in my studio setups. This is what it is when, let's just say you have an artistic or a drawing company. This is what it looks like in my studio, or if you're getting a tattoo, this is how comfortable you're going to be. Again, sharing those things behind the scenes, it really just builds a connection. So people are more comfortable, right? So if you're going to, let's say, go get a massage or go get your teeth cleaned, it's nice to see the office area because then it makes people feel more comfortable that, hey, I already saw this. I know what I'm going to show up to, rather than getting a weird surprise later on when you just show up and you say, oh, this isn't what I expected. And that's the thing. If you can show people behind the scenes what's going on, what's happening, this is how things work, just kind of sharing the process, the procedure, then it makes them feel a lot more comfortable and it attracts that ideal client and customer for you. So share a little more behind the scenes if you can. And if you can't, let's just say share by video, then at least explain to them how things would work. And that also, it kind of creates a behind the scenes kind of feel. Not necessarily a behind the scenes look, but a behind the scenes kind of feel because you're explaining the process and the concept and what's going to happen. You're basically telegraphing to them, hey, this is how things work. All right, so I hope you found those 7 content types helpful to giving you some ideas of other types of content that you can create within your blog or within your business, even on YouTube and creating videos. And if you did and you want to see other great video content like this one, then be sure to get on my newsletter list by clicking the link right over here. Enter your name and email address when you get there, and then I'll send you that free content as we continue to release new videos and new episodes. Thanks again for joining me, and I'll see you next time.